Hello and welcome to this week's installment of Ask Sarah, where every week I take your questions about teaching and learning and do my best to answer them. This week's question is short but powerful. Our reader writes, "Dear Sarah, how do I avoid burnout? Sincerely, Burnout Blues." Burnout Blues, I hear you. Believe me, I hear you. I know that feeling. At best, it's like fuzzy brain, but at worst, it can be willing yourself to do the most basic classroom tasks. And when we get to that place, there's absolutely no space left for enthusiasm and creativity and paying attention to the learners in front of us. Burnout sucks us in to ourselves, which really is the antithesis of this work. Burnout is a tricky thing because it's like realizing you're thirsty only to discover you're already dehydrated. And then the business of rehydrating is tenuous and scary and even dangerous. It might seem like being on the verge of summer is the most ridiculous time to talk about burnout because this is when we're talking about refueling and recharging and revitalizing. But in order to do that, we must already be a little empty, maybe dehydrated, maybe burned out. So I actually think it's the perfect time to think about burnout because in order to avoid it in the future, we have to pay attention now to the things we naturally do when our time is more human. So we can ask ourselves different questions. Do I read more? Do I laugh more? Do I actually sit down to drink my morning coffee? Do I pay attention to my relationships differently? Do I exercise? Do I learn something new? So we need to pay attention now so that next year we can deliberately make space for these things. So much of teaching and education is about output and giving. So little of it is about input and taking. But this is the one thing we can be selfish about, ourselves. Because the more of ourselves we take in, the more we have to give. With Teacher to Teacher, this is Ask Sarah. As always, we take your questions via Twitter and Facebook or on my website at the Ask Sarah tab, which you can find at sarahbrownwesling.com.